this is a Chania, beautiful Chania. If you see the distance, that's the Chania old port, old town port. We're going to walk over there, and on the way, I'm going to show you how the Chania is, how it looks like for a long walk. We're going to visit the Chania old town port and its surrounding. Right now, we're kind of in its surrounding in the east side of Chania port. Also, if you look at on the ocean side, it will be left side. Then we walk all the way down to the west side. Then we turn to the Chania Old Town itself. Then we go down to the Chania Old Town Market, which is also very important. In the meantime, you also may notice something kind of disappointing in a way. You may see, some pretty rundown structures. This is definitely very rundown. You just see poorly maintained, but those buildings are probably a couple hundred years old, and unfortunately, Greece government is not strong enough or have the initiative to build a country or maintain a country in its shape. It's in pretty deep financial problem. You see these buildings also. It's all surrounded such a beautiful scenes. So it's kind of disappointing. But I'm going to show you how the entire Chania looks like. It's Chania, in my view, it's a bit noisy. So I'm going to walk over to the other side when it's less noisy. I'm going to tell you how I view Chania. Now I'm pointing at Chania old town from distance, which is quite a beautiful place. It's truly one of the my personal view is the most beautiful plus livable Greek towns in entire Greece. So it's pretty stunning. You see, if you look at it, it's just very beautiful town, old town port. In its distance, you can see two watchtowers in there, and you see a lot of rocks. And when it's a windy day, you can see a lot of waves. And the water is stunningly clean. If you look at the water, just so beautiful. The water is so beautiful. It's you can see a lot of rocks underneath the ocean, and that's because the water is very clean. Okay, we're just going to walk over there all the way down to the old town. It's beautiful. So what I was trying to say in the earlier moment is that, in my point of view, Chania is the most beautiful plus livable Greek town in entire Greece. Why I'm saying that? There are islands more beautiful than Chania. Like, for example, Santorini, which I'm going to visit about a month from now. I travel 6 months out of the year. Every year from now on, since that's what I want to do basically. I stay here for 4 weeks or more. 4 weeks. I typically stay a month in each place I visit. And the reason I choose Chania is truly because it's really beautiful. It's very beautiful, and also it's very livable. Why I'm saying that, you have a Santorini is more beautiful, but not very livable because it's extremely expensive and very small. Chania, because it's located on the Crete Island. Crete Island is obviously the Greece most largest island, and they produce pretty much everything they consume on island itself. So the food consumption is self-reliable. Therefore, the cost of living here is extremely low. Therefore, I think Chania, as well as the Crete itself, is one of the most beautiful plus livable island or town in the entire Greece. Obviously, there are some cities for example, in Greek main island, there will be more livable, but not as beautiful as Chania. So Chania basically give you the best combination of both. That's why you see all the stuff is just very beautiful. If you look but you can see a lot of rundowns. I actually had a conversation with one of the Greek college students in here, and they talk about. You see, this is a pretty rundown as well. We talked about why, Greek is so beautiful, but it's so underdeveloped, and his explanation was because of the corruption and incompetence of the government. You see, this is another building, extremely rundown. So this is the one thing you would, people even in Greece would probably be jealous about China. In China, you would have things like the most reputable thing is that they build a hospital in 7 days, and can host 6,000 or 7,000 patients, and they say this is extremely. This is just in the main road. This is the road we're seeing here is actually the most important road. The main road next to the Hainan Old Town goes straight into the Hainan Old Town. But you see, all those are very rundown. Yeah, it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing. You see, Greece has such an incredible history with Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great is actually the most military genius in the world, in world history, because he fought since the age of 16 all the way to 33 and never defeated a single battle. He won by incredible margin, like 1-5. So he's like 50,000. He would have beat like 250,000 Persians. So it's incredible. But Greece is a great place to vacation. But if you want, as a young person, if you want to find a job here, develop your career, it's very difficult. Very, very difficult. Many reasons. Mostly because the government is, whether it's corruption or not. I was actually talking to the college student about the corruption issue. If you're, in Syria, if you're elected official, if you're corrupt, you're supposed to be kicked out of the office. But in reality, most of the places in the world, the reality isn't that necessarily so clear. The reason for that is the campaign finance, because campaign finance come from a big corporation. A big corporation donate to existing officials. They don't donate to regular Joes. So it's difficult. You still see some beautiful old town. We're about to go into. This is a couple ways to go to Old Town. One way is go straight on this road. You see this road, you can go straight, but that way you don't see a whole lot of beautiful things. You can go. Another thing to do is you just go next to the coastline all the way down to the Old Town port. Then you see there's a couple. This way you actually see some beach. And mostly people think Hainan don't have much beach, but they actually have two beaches. The one beach is on the left-hand side of the Old Town port, and another beach in the right side of Old Town port. So they actually pretty evenly distributed with it's a beach. And those beaches are not very big, they're about 100 meters wide, but it's very, just the water is very clear, so you can actually go down. Depends on, you can do some snorkeling here too. You gotta have a lot of rocks formations that allows you fish to hide themselves. So this is another beautiful spot in Chania. Which I actually spend quite a bit of time in here just thinking my stuff, because I'm really an investor, so I live on my investment. I've been retired for 5 years. I retired in my age of 40s. So I spend a lot of time thinking, and there's a lot of rock formations. You can actually swim in there. and found a lot snorkeling there. Find looking for fish. It's not deep at all. So right now it's pretty cold, but when it's warm enough, you can definitely do a lot. This is a small park on the top of the rock, and so you can see it's very beautiful here. That's why I choose this as my sinking spot. It's very beautiful. You can see a lot of oceans, a lot of great views, and that here is my particular sinking spot. So you see a lot of it. We can walk over a little bit to see how the ocean and the rocks. The water is just so blue, so with a little bit undertone of green. So it's truly beautiful things. And this is in the left side of the Chania old town. So if you go down here, actually, just yesterday there was a very heavy wind, and they destroyed a very big tree here. They not entirely destroyed, but they rolled down a tree. So now they cut on the side, put on the side. Eventually they were took out, but yeah, that's the place they yesterday was blown away by the heavy. If you can see here, yeah, that's one branch. This is I don't know. This tree looks like at least maybe a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 years old, because just such an old tree, but the wind blew it away. It's a beautiful place. Very, very beautiful place. If you keep going down here, you will still see. The reason I'm talking about a little bit about politics as well as economic, maybe even stock investment, because that's where I make my living. Part of the reason I like to talk to politics is I actually used to be a political prisoner in China, so I'm actually deeply care about politics, even though I don't hold a great hatred against Chinese government. The reason for that is because Chinese government in the last 30 years really improved a lot of people's livelihood. 1.4 billion people's livelihood significantly improved. There's a lot of people actually envy what China has done economically. If China at some time they open immigration, then I would think there'll be many people, tens of millions of people apply for immigration into China, just because it's a very safe country. It doesn't have a serious crime. There might be some pickpockets, might be some petty crime, but you don't have much violence. So this is it looks very much like Old Town in some way, but Old Town Port, but it's not. It's actually outside Old Town Port, another kind of port allows people, and some people actually swimming now. It's actually, the weather is a 50-some Fahrenheit, less than 20, 18, 17 Celsius, but people swimming here. So I feel that if you as a Chinese person, I'm myself a Chinese American, I live in China for 23 years, and living in America for 29 years, so living in US for 29 years, so I think there's a lot of misinformation about China, so I like to help people to understand China better. Through some videos when travel a lot, intended to travel 6 months out of a year. I was actually in Venice just 4 months, a month ago. So I like to show you something. In the meantime, I might talk about some politics. Also, may talk about the investment. It's interesting anyway. But otherwise, it's my vlog, so I don't really intended to as my business or my living, making a living out of it. It's just I'm a retiree. I don't need to have a job anymore. So this is again, this is a beautiful thing, but you would constantly see some just horribly underdeveloped buildings next to it. So it's pretty disappointing why, a Western European country cannot have its own, finding its own footing. It kind of, if you live here as a youth, actually youth employment in Greece is 33%. That's horrible. It's 1/3 of the youth cannot find a job. So my explanation of that is the investor, I deeply care about monetary policy. It is euro just such a strong currency. It's almost impossible to have a weak economy like Greece and expect to have euro as its currency, then lose all the possible monetary policy for its own country. So they have serious problem with export because euro is so expensive. So such a hard currency, strong currency, and for weak economy like a Greece, and they just can't really sell their products overseas anymore. Of course, European Union as dominated by German, they wouldn't consider Greece as important for them to measure their currency policy or monetary policy, obviously, until 2011, like 2012, then Greece as well as Spain, Italy trigger all the financial disaster in Europe. Then they start to take some action, like give a huge bailout to Greece for like 1.9 billion euros. But that's normally just a one time. It's a bailout. It's not the initiative for restructuring debt, or has some degree of restructuring debt, but not to the point you can give Greece a chance to lift itself. So it's very disappointing. My strong opinion is Greece has to have its own currency. Obviously, having its own currency will lead to some issues like possibly like inflation. But Greece is a country can produce its own food. They don't have to buy a whole lot imports from outside the world to facilitate to keep a certain degree of the livelihood. I think soon enough the export should be able to, once they become a net gainer, net receiver of the exporting, importing, then they can start to buy the rest of the things they need. So by handing out the currency to European Union for, it's not just Greece. So, pretty much all southern European countries is like that, like Spain as well as Portugal, which I stayed in Portugal for 1 month. On this trip, I spent 6 months in Europe. I stayed in Portugal for 1 month, then in Spain for 2 months. And I really think all those weak countries, the economically weak countries, they need to have their own currency in order they can still be part of the European Union for people migration and stuff like that, but giving up its own currency, meaning give up the monetary policy, which is extremely important for economic stimulus as well as managing its own economy, is such a big too much to give up. There are quite a lot of restaurants next to it, and windy days they put those vinyls on the side to block the wind, but otherwise it's a beautiful place. People sitting there enjoy some coffee, enjoy the great view. Yeah, one thing different from European and American is European has a lot of smokers. American don't have many smokers. I think percentage of people who smoke in America is more like 10-13%. In Europe, you just see men and women, all kinds of smokes a lot. So it's kind of different. So if you're not a smoker, you probably want to stay outdoor for dining. Okay, we're entering the Old Town. This is Old Town Wall. Old Town Wall is that's a Venetian wall. Venetian wall. Venice used to be the greatest power in Europe, naval force. And before Portugal, before Spain, before England, they owned the biggest naval force in Europe. And they conquered Crete in 1205, and they built this old town. This old town is 100 years old now, to protect themselves. So it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. And now we looking back to the area we just walked through. You see, there's a mountains next to it. There's a mountainside villages. There's a mountainside village. There's the walkways, coastlines, and there's a port side view. But that is still not the Old Town Port. Even better looking Old Town Port is ahead. Oh, there's a woman swimming there. So brave. It's you see, she's looking for fish down there. It's incredible. The water is so clear. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Now we walk into the old town. Beautiful, beautiful views. People just can stay here for hours at a time, just looking at, enjoy this mountain, cliff, and the white village on the mountain, and port views. It's just incredible. And some history, Venetian wall, castle type of wall they built in 1205 or so. It's incredible. Now I start to feel bad about the Greeks, why they don't develop the economy. It's complicated. Politics, economics, social benefits, all those should need to have a balance. Another thing interesting, now here's a view of that. We're going to walk this way and into the port side, but you see, another thing is this is not very well developed. They kind of run down. On this street, you see the street I'm facing right now, there's a car parking, kind of 90 degrees from us. That is the farmers market on Saturdays. So today is Sunday. Yesterday there's a couple of street of farmers market selling fruits, vegetables, all kinds of food in here. So it's good. If you live in here, there's plenty of food, just very cheap and extremely cheap. And one couple of things that I like the most is Greek land. It's just incredible. I used to travel a lot. I used to travel like every week for my project for over 10 years. And I stay in hotel like 200 nights of the year, 400 meals a year. And the two type of restaurant I like the most is a Korean restaurant and a Greek restaurant. Korean restaurant because I like small dishes they hand out for free, whatever you order. Once you order entree, they will give to you. And Greek restaurant they have such a good mixture between meat and the vegetables. Meat. The reason they're so good in meat is because they were ruled by Ottoman empires for almost 400 some years, and they importing something to the 18 something. So there's a lot of lambs they bring in that kind of culture. People who that time Greek called them barbarians. They live in the area that doesn't have a whole lot of anything else other than lambs, sheep, and animals. So they are very much easy, and they bring that culture into Greek. So they're very hungry. So everywhere you can see, you have a good mixture of very, very old structures, modern structures. This is a passage go all the way to the watchtower. There's a watchtower. So you can see a watchtower. This is a passage. This is actually a restaurant, also a sailing club. Sometimes they will take out a lot of boats, and some young people would launch their boat here on this port, then they just sail out. So this is a passage all the way to that watchtower. So this is some hotels. This is a pretty good hotel actually. Now we go down to this is the area you can have some personal boats or cruising boat, and in the summertime they're very popular. Tourists taking a boat for sailing, fishing. It's not expensive because tourists you kind of taking advantage of. They're not expensive. There's a lot around. You see the one in front of us also pretty run-down building. There's quite a lot of builds, but now they just don't do much sitting here. So yeah, the Great Chania is quite beautiful. If you own a small boat here, it's you can have a lot of beautiful life. And Greek people are pretty nice, by the way. I should have mentioned that. They're nice people, very nice people, nice, helpful people. In fact, I met a British person on the airline, on the airplane when we fly here. She chose to live in Greece instead of Britain. She just mentioned it repeatedly to me. Greek people are very, very nice, which I experienced and very much concur. Yeah, this is the old town. They use the store their ammunition, stuff like that. So it's old days. This building is also 900 years old. Again, this is still not the old town port. It's a port, outskirt port. It's kind of extension of old Chania, old town port, which is what we are walking toward here. There's cruise ships and some personal boats. Some boats was anywhere cheap, but like the one in front of us is actually pretty expensive. Maybe as much as $1 million if it's a new, maybe 1.5, 2 million, 3 million. Old one can sell for $500,000. And some sailing boats are not that expensive, but they're good to have. You see, again, such a beautiful place, but something just so run down, and the city doesn't have a ability to maintain it. So the government budget is pretty low. again, the building in front of us is also 800, 900 years old. So once you know that, you feel, pretty good about it. You're part of history. You're seeing the history, and you're part of history. Yeah, this is the wall. Used to be protecting the old town. Now kind of mixed with the buildings built on top of it. But those walls are pretty run down. That looks like a wall, basically a passage to the Old Town Watchtower, but also it's a wall to protect things. This restaurant is very popular because they kind of just right on the corner. Mid of the falls. Yeah, this is that's Old Town. Today is windy, that's why some people are staying at there's the vinyls protecting them from the wind. This is very beautiful. You want to slow down a little bit, just take a nice look. Now we're going to do little things which is kind of, as a tourist, you would really appreciate it. Very important is in this hidden place, there's a very important place for people. So you will need to use it. This is a WC. It's a public toilet. It's very clean, extremely clean. Actually, it's free. It's really good. I couldn't say more good things about it because I come from Venice before here. 50 cents for using a public toilet. So in here, it's really very good. I'm going to stop for a second and just use it myself, and then I restart again afterwards. I forgot to mention, in this part you can also take showers. It has a free shower there, so it's very nice if you actually just swimming in the water nearby and then you want here to wash out of your salt water. So it's very nice. It's one of the best. Very great thing. And now we walk down to the port. It's very nice. And now I'm going to show you what's the best view in entire Chania, which is what I think is truly the most stunning view in town. Now we walk down there. This is Old Town, very famous Chania Old Town. There's a Muslim temple there. Again, it's ruled by Ottoman Empire for 100 years. After Christian Knights lost the roads, they basically lost every island afterwards until they built a more fortified island city, Malta, to defend the Ottomans. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are pretty run down, very run down buildings. but they're very colorful. If you look far away, it's really beautiful. It's just like the watchtower, and there's another crossover. There's another structure, so they protect each other. So for the boats, Venetian boats, for hiding here, they have a way to protect them. This is the temple. It's about Christmas now, so they put Christmas trees there. Yeah, again, the building right behind the Christmas tree is such a rundown building. Again, in such a prime location, you don't have money to repolish that building. That's such a, it could, if it really can be used as a hotel if just somebody just invested. But in Greece, it's difficult to be invested. Yeah, beautiful Chania Old Town. Beautiful, beautiful, most beautiful place. One of the most favorite place in Greece to me. Yeah, a lot of restaurants. Actually, the other day the wings to have the water just keep pounding, and they actually break some stones put in here, then just blow them away. That's how powerful the water is. Of course, the part of the reason is because here's a boat launching place, right? They, some heavy boat come in and out. They just break the concrete to the point, it's easy for the water to blow them away. Beautiful restaurants, very nice food. Greek food is my favorite. Very good. Yeah, we later on we're going to walk to the Old Town Market, which you can go through here. This passage up, and then turn left a little bit, you will see the Old Town Market. So now we're going to see the port first, and possibly, and then we're going to walk over to the other side of the port. Yeah, this is, it's not busy right now because it's kind of like off season, but in season it's very, very, and at night it's very colorful, especially during the summer season. There's all the lights are on at night. It's just incredible. During the summer season, you probably should stay somewhere nearby this old town. And off season doesn't really matter. You can stay a little bit far away, then walk over here. It's not difficult to walk over here. If you walk through the near the coastline, it's really beautiful. Another thing I'm going to show you guys a little bit later is you can just walk through those narrow alleys, and those are the old towns, Chania old towns. And every building you have to think about, they're 800, 900 years old, and then become very interesting. Yeah, that's the old town. Very colorful building, very charming, very, very charming. So it's beautiful, beautiful things. Yeah, another thing you can notice is maybe it's kind of true for most Southern European countries. You don't see a lot of, you will also see a lot of pretty rundown cars everywhere. So they still on the road. They don't seem to have any kind of smoke check, which is kind of disappointing. In US, you have to do smoke check some stay every year, some stays every 2 years. You have to pass the smoke check, so your exhaustion is not going to cause too much pollution. But in here, you don't feel that. So when I was walking near the main street, I had to use a mask, and I'm not wearing a mask in outdoor for COVID reasons, but I wear the mask for all the cars driving by me. So that's pretty sad too. Yeah, this is the old town again. If you're looking back, that's the way we walk back. It's a beautiful place, very beautiful. I do this every day, even though I stay here for a month, and I don't get tired of walking here every day. Yeah, you see this is the front in front of us. That's a red building. That's the war museum. So they basically show you how the Venetians fighting the wars and the weapons they use, things like that. And that's also used to be their fortress between that watchtower and here. They put some cannons there, so avoid other invaders. And they can hide their own warships here inside this protected area. And now it's one of the most well-known Greek tourist destination. So if you like to see the history in Athens, there's a lot of certain history Colosseum stuff like that. But in here you would see some good vacation spot. It's just everything's very beautiful. Now we're about to be the area I consider to be the best view of Chania. But I'm going to stop there for a little bit so you can actually, this is what I consider. The reason for that is why I said this is the best view of the Chania is you can see the mountains next to the ocean. You can see the whitewashed villages on top of the mountain, and you can see the old town in its entire view. So it's just really beautiful. We're gonna stop here a little bit just to enjoy it a little bit. Maybe for a few minutes, then we're gonna restart again to just give you a chance to enjoy this. Is the most important Chanian view in the entire things. I consider this to be the most beautiful plus livable city town in entire Greece. You can also view this view as the most beautiful and livable best vacation spot in my view in entire Greece. And that is so beautiful, so colorful, so beautiful. If you come at night, you will see a lot of beautiful lights, beautiful restaurants, everything. Just so, and extremely cost effective if you put it that way. Just not yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful watchtower, and then the coastal line with mountains, whitewashed village on the top of the mountain, and then the old town, the beautiful old town, very colorful. Imagine old days, they just doing a business, hustling with all the sellers, all kinds of different business, selling food, selling drinks, women's busy for sellers, all kinds of older medieval type of thing you can think about. But yeah, today it's a beautiful, very peaceful place. There's no sense of war. It's a good thing, good thing. Let's go over there. Again, this is the wall next to the old town. They protect the, again, this is a kind of, you see the flag there. That's kind of another small watchtower, and with that watchtower together, they form a very good protection for the port. People cleaning the wall because, again, there was a heavy rain, heavy seawater is just flowing to it. Okay, so there's a lot of old buildings behind it. So they're actually brushing it, try to get rid of the certain deposits. So very good thing. Yeah, this gentleman, I see him every day. Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? See him every day for fishing. I actually asked him whether he fished for selling or just for himself. He says he only fished for himself. Well, this is another kind of good ocean. We're walking towards a very nice ocean view. Rocks near the old town port, so you can actually, it's may not be so good for swimming, but it's very good for snorkeling. You can look for fish. The water, if you have today you can still see pretty good clean waters down there. It's very clean water. Then when the wave is not so much, the water is incredible. Today it's kind of windy, but you can see how beautiful it is. It's just so good. Far away you have some mountains, there's some small islands, then you have little rocks, and it's good. In the old town, you can really have those pretty good stone paved passage. It's very good. Enjoy walking. It's a good place. In front of also have a place for people to hide themselves on the ring and stay there for a little bit. It's six sides. It's probably called an hexagon. They call it the resting area. Oh, the water here, you see the water, incredible. Even in such a big windy day, so much wave, but behind those rocks, the water is just so clean. You can see, you just see the rocks underneath and reflect the sunlight, everything, and that's only because the water is just so incredible clean. Lots of birds. This resting area is actually very big. You can see. You can stay underneath if it's a very rainy day or windy day, probably won't have much. But a rainy day, you can really hide yourself underneath it. Very good. We're going to walk over there. You see it in front of there's some sort of structure. It's completely run down. Nobody seems to care about nobody. Actually, when I was talking to the Greek college student, he was mentioning about the 2004 as an Olympics. They built many arenas, and those are all very run down. Nobody's taking care of it. It's kind of like that. So, 16 years later, nobody takes care of it. Back then, I actually remember 60 minutes had a bother, but they were so delayed for the construction. How can I even make it happen? So they will eventually make it happen, but 16 years later, those arenas are pretty much run down. And for a Greek economy, that's a huge amount of money they spend, and they don't seem to utilize it. But of course, there's some old building, traditional building. The one in front of us is very beautiful on the corner side, and it seems to be very well maintained. But those maintenance are done privately, but not if it's a public. They won't have money to maintain it. But some private citizens, they may have money. But still, Greece is this poor country in Western Europe. Very sad with such a incredible history. This building is just incredible. It's just, how can I even be allowed to just in US you have something called a public some sort of public office construction. They check the construction quality of it, and if you run down, they give you tickets. You have to give you a certain amount of time to fix it. If you don't fix, they send a construction team to fix it for you, then send a bill to you for have you pay for it. And here seems to nobody care about it. This is another thing I like about this place is in here you will see tons of beautiful trees, very old trees. You can see those trees. Yeah, those trees probably at least couple hundred years old, maybe 1,000 years old. Incredible. There's just a line of trees, as many as maybe 20 of them, just incredible trees sitting here on the street side, standing here, very old trees, very beautiful. Once we pass that, this is another beach area, which many people don't even know Chania has a beach, but they do have beach. And the beach is not very big, just in the Chania Old Town. If you go out a little bit, there's many beautiful beaches, right? Because it's an island. You can't hide from the ocean very far away. But in the Old Town, it's kind of, in some sense, they overdeveloped, so they kind of made sand less visible to you. But in the either side of the Old Town Hall, you will see beach. Again, those trees are just incredible. You can really enjoy those trees. It's incredible. These trees are so just, you won't be able to put your hands around it. If you put both hands and try to make a circle of it, you won't be able to do it. The beautiful trees. They just make all those things to make sure, in old days, they make sure there's no ship can go straight into so they try to block your ships, but now they can be a hiding place for some boats in the windy days. Those trees just incredible, you see. There's so many of them. I don't know, maybe more than 20. When I say 20, it's it's really, you see cross street is also, so they at least have 40 of them. Oh my God, those trees are incredible trees, beautiful trees. Yeah, very tough trees. They suffer so much in the wind, in the ocean, water, all kinds of weather elements. They survived for hundreds of years, maybe 1,000 years. So incredible. Yeah, a lot of motorcycles. Other than those trees, not too many. Again, there's a very rundown structures. Very rundown. After that, there's a beach, and they have a little bit nice boardwalks, allows you to kind of walk near the beach side. So it's a lot of people, you know, Europeans, British, they come here for beach. So I show you where the beach is. And next beach, there's some hotels or Airbnbs people can rent, and so you just less than 30 meters away, 20-30 meters away from the beach. So pretty nice. There's two ways to go there. You can go there from this next to the ocean, very windy passage, or you can go the other way. They all lead you to the beach. We go down here. When we walk back, we walk the other way, so you can see both ways. Again, this is incredible, beautiful coastline. Yeah, those rocks just makes it so much more interesting when you're looking at the ocean. Now we're going to go down here. It's a kind of fisherman's port. So fisherman boats here, and it's beautiful. Rocks, boats, beautiful structures, everything. Beautiful place. I like everything here. I love everything here. This is another thing interesting on the right, the boat right on the restaurant. It's kind of interesting. It's not very heavy ones, I hope, so they can stand on top of the loaf. Yeah, fisherman's port and the fishing boats. Another thing that's kind of interesting is, even though Greek, you know, you kind of next to the ocean, they actually don't eat that much fish. So if you go to, there's a couple of fish stores here. You can say everywhere, but mostly a frozen fish. Actually, fresh fish isn't too many. There's the Old Town Market, which I will take you guys to have a walk there. They do sell fresh fish between 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's two stores nearby sells fresh fish as well from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. But they don't sell a whole lot of selections. There's a very few selections, maybe less than 10. Each store has less than 10 different selections, which is a kind of disappointing. Not too much based on my view, because I just came from Portugal and Spain. In Portugal and Spain, you both have a lot of municipal markets, and I come from Venice, also have a very well-known fish market. They all have tons of different selections, just a lot more selections than here. People, in my view, probably because during the time of the Ottoman Empire ruling Greece, they just don't seem to eat enough fish. Okay, this is the beach. This beach maybe 150 meters, 200 meters. You know, there's a lot of sunbathing chairs in there and umbrellas. But that's during the summer season. So it's when you think Chania doesn't have beach, think again. On both sides of the old port town, old town port, there are two beaches. Left side has one, west side has one. So very good. Now we're just walking over there. There's a boat works. You see the boat works. Yeah, we take advantage of that. It's very nice. If you want to keep your feet clean, that's a kind of good way to work next to the ocean. And during the summertime, they also have the lifeguard taking care of you if you got a stun. Not only just because they have a lot of rocks, you don't actually get a chance to actually being blown away too far from here. You kind of always can find a way to land yourself in the rock, next to the rock. But if you do run into trouble, if you really find a gap to flow away, then they probably can help you out. Another thing is that they don't have a whole lot of jellyfish, but if they do, if you got stung by jellyfish, they provide some sort of creams allow you to apply it in your skin, help you to reduce the pain and burning sensation of the jellyfish by stung. Yeah, those are hotels in the summer times. Allow people to stay here. It's a beautiful place. It's not too far away. Even some people, stay in those kind of narrow streets. It's not far away from the beach. Yeah, the summertime is more like you can have April to October, end of October. Then after that, it will be a bit difficult to swim here. So you may want to go to Cyprus for swimming if you really want to. After that, but there's so much other things to do other than swimming. So this is another boat decoration type of boat. Yeah, you can wash out yourself, rinse out. But if you want to do a completed shower, I showed you that the public toilet allows you to, city municipal toilet allows you to do the shower. Yeah, those trees are incredible, isn't it? They're so big. And they survived right on the beach. Well, some didn't survive. You see, this one just blew down not too long ago. If it blew down too long ago, they would actually remove it. At least, they probably blew down just a couple of weeks ago, maybe even tomorrow. Like we saw yesterday was heavy, very, very heavy rain. Yeah, some cuts are very new. You see the bottom of those cuts? Very new. So they probably just blew down yesterday. Now we kind of reached the end of this side of the beach. Of course, they also allow you to change your clothes. Some things allow you to change your clothes. So it's nice. It's nice. So now we're going to walk. Yeah, those are clean cuts. They probably just cut it yesterday. The blow down. Okay, we're going to walk back. Where we go next is the Chania Old Town, the narrow streets and charming narrow streets of Old Town. This kind of the way we just walk over, but in a different direction of viewing it, so you can see the different side of this, the same passage, but with a different direction of viewing what's the surrounding. This is at the left-hand side of the Chania Old Town. Basically, it's if you're on the map, you would see the west side of the Chania Old Town. Chania is the north side of the northwest kind of major town of the creek. And then you have where we're standing now is kind of west side of the Chania Old Town. We're going to walk back, then visit to the Chania Old Town itself. Very beautiful old town, incredible, beautiful. Now we're going to just walk on these pavements instead of the old boardwalk we just took. Yeah, you see all those cars are just incredible around there. Those cars would not be allowed to on the road in US because they probably wouldn't be able to pass the exhaustion test. But in Greece, they don't care. When you have a economy with that kind of situation, you have a lot of things that you money to do it. I would think Greece is a good place for retirement. If you don't actually need to look for a job, if you just can, you have a limited income, you want to enjoy the life, relatively high quality life, good environment, good food, then Greece is a very good place for it. But if you're a young person, you want to build your career, this is almost impossible. Just very difficult, very, very difficult. Again, we're going to walk into that incredible trees, just incredible trees, you see. Those big, probably 1,000-year-old tree. Those trees contain so much history. You see there? There's, the holes here, holes there, but they're standing. The root is just so big, you can put hands around it. Incredible. Off season, everything's empty. Nobody seems to open, and this is Monday, not a weekend, not a Sunday. There's still people doing the cleaning though. A little bit people here, but not much business. Maybe because of cold run, because tourists, but it's down anyway. Those trees, incredible trees. Beautiful trees everywhere. Yeah. People can write poems for those trees. It's incredible. fisherman port. We were walking down there, now we walk above it. And that's the boat we're talking about. Very interesting boat. Beautiful boat and a beautiful port. Clear water. Even in this port, the water is very clear. Water is pretty much clear everywhere. Unless it's a very windy day, that kind of bring up the sand underneath the ocean. Otherwise, it's always clean. So if I was counting completely incorrectly, if you count this area too, maybe as many as 100 of those incredible big trees. If you're a fan of those kind of thing, nature, trees and birds, it's a great place to just walk near around it. This is one little bit of area, not so pretty, but it's only a little bit, so we're going to pass it very quickly. But every time you see these things, you will say, what the heck, why they couldn't maintain it, why the government is so weak and pretty corrupt. They were ranked probably 50s or so in the world in terms of corruption. And if you think democracy and choosing the right leader is the solution to everything, then you have to think about why a situation like that. For example, Portugal is ranked to be the 29th most corrupt country in the world. And Portugal obviously is a democracy, Democratic elect officials, but they're very corrupt. But the reason is really poverty. When you have poverty, people will use their power for things they shouldn't be. And that is a lot of things you just have to solve it through economic development. That's why I'm pretty happy to see that China has makes such a difference in the last 30 years, really changed their livelihood in the last 30 years. It's incredible. Even though I was a political prisoner, I was, so after June 6th, June 4th, 1989, was a student leader, then got put in jail. But I don't hold any kind of hatred against them. I couldn't be more happy to see China's economic development. And I think a lot of Westerners don't quite put their own foot into the shoes of Chinese people. So they criticize China doesn't have this, doesn't have that. But if you have everything like the Western have, China won't have that kind of economic development because it's just not so easy. For example, in US nowadays, after Communist Trump, we have 45% of Americans hate the rest of 55% of people, Other 45% of Democrats hate the other 45% of the Republicans. And in the middle, you have 10% being driven toward to Democrats because after Communist Trump, you really feel there's no hope to the Republican Party anymore because Fox News can create that many lies and Republicans not only lost the integrity, also lost any kind of trust they used to have. Even though in economic policy wise, I actually leaning toward to Republican policy, but not after Communist Trump. So it's if you have that kind of division in the politics in China or any other country, you won't have any kind of efficiency. So this is true not only to China, also to Singapore. Singapore has economic America, right? But which is not as big as China actually. China has economic America. If you just pick up cities, China, because Singapore is really a 5 million people city, you can compete with Shenzhen or Shanghai, even some major coastlines, east coastline cities in China. They actually grow faster than Singapore. But Singapore is a smaller country, so you kind of can measure the entire country with that kind of scale. But on the other hand, if you're trying to have their prime minister is called Li Guanyu to develop the entire China into current Singapore standard, it's not feasible. I don't think that he can do it. So another thing I want to mention is actually prior to China's economic miracle, there are two countries that actually have some sort of miracle, which is Japan and Germany after World War II. But Japan's economic miracle, it also has a lot of top-down management. It's not entirely free market per se. The reason I'm saying that is back then their Treasury Department basically managed their central bank. And then the central bank managed all the banks. So the central bank decide which sector they want to invest. They put a huge amount of money into electronic manufacturing, and so they have back then you have a Sony, you have a Toshiba, all those incredible successful company. And Japanese government forced the central bank Japanese central bank to open up the windows and decide which sector they want to finance, which sector they don't want to finance. When it reached the 90s, they forced banks to lend, even though banks couldn't find trustworthy borrowers. They were forcing into lend. And then you have a collapse in 1990s, and the stock go up. Back then was like 40,000. Now go in 2009, 2008 was like 7,000. So it dropped almost 80% in 20 some years. Now they start to come back because they no longer they kind of economic have cycles. China were facing certain economic cycles, and somewhere when they're still living in China was extremely poor. So I couldn't be more happy to see China become so well. Say there's 170 million people who travel out of China every year globally, and they willingly go back to China. So if you're still complaining about how horrible China is, think about those people. There's also 3 million to 6 million people go to US for the tourist student. They go back. And in fact, in US, some colleges consider Chinese students are the best, financial resource for them, because they provide the international student college tuition, which is like more than $50,000-$60,000 a year to the college. So back then there was a college, university in US actually bought insurance just to make sure those students will keep coming. If they don't come, insurance company pay. And unfortunately to many people, but fortunately to this college, at least the principal is after COVID-19, Chinese students stopped coming here. So he was able to get quite a lot of money from the insurance company. See this wave that's pounding, but underneath, behind the rocks, the water is just so clean. So they get a lot of money after. So China become, actually not too long ago when I was in Venice, in airport, I saw there's a sign showing, Venice welcoming Chinese tourists and things like the digital format. The billboard actually changes every minute or so. The only country being listed is China because Chinese tourists is the number one tourist consumers in the world now. In fact, China is, in terms of consumption, China is already the largest economy in the world. It is 1.18 times of U.S. So make it the largest in the world, and that's just incredible. You see that billboard doesn't show any other countries except China. So I hope people see China in a different way. I wish U.S. as well as the Western see China in a more peaceful way, and China see U.S. and the rest of the world as a more peaceful way. China don't have any information. Historically speaking, China don't really initiate any wars against the rest of it. In the old days when China has a dynasty like Tang Dynasty, Song Dynasty, Ming Dynasty, they don't actually fought war against the rest, even though they are the richest country in the world. In the last 3,000 years, for 2,800 years, it's just so beautiful. Now the sunlight hits that old town, just so beautiful. Can you see that? Yeah, for the 2,800 years out of 3,000 years, China was the largest economy in the world. In the peak of U.S. in 50s, 60s, U.S. economy is about 50% of the world, and China in its peak in the Tang Dynasty and the Song Dynasty, they were 80% of the world's economy. That's just incredible because European was so busy with fighting war with each other, killing each other, and China was in each dynasty have a couple hundred years of relatively peaceful time. So they develop economy, and they don't really invade a lot of other countries, even though they're most powerful back then. So I don't think the Western world should view China as a threat. It's a competitor, it's a economic competitor, but the competition should be done in a peaceful way. Don't have to degrading China. Degrading China, we see in the history there's a lot of certain race like the Jewish people being degraded and cause a lot of hatreds and unnecessary wars. I just don't think that should be what, as an American citizen, I don't want to see that. As a Chinese heritage, I don't want to see that. So I think from time to time I will insert those kind of comments just to hopefully helping people to see China better. Because if you anchor your political position as 1.4 billion people currently living in China, you will see China quite differently, because 90%, 95% of those people feel very happy about it. They think their livelihood has improved so much to the point it's just incredible. I think it's true. It's true. So it's a beautiful place. Beautiful place. The issues, many countries have the different issues. China has issues like, being too tight grip. Everything they manage us a lot. Everything they have to kind of heavy-handed. But that's true with Singapore too. So they're better than Saudi. US has a very good relationship with, even though that's a kingdom. Doesn't have any women's rights. In China, women actually have the equal rights as a men. So that's kind of, every country has its own problem, but not one is more than the other, unless you want to emphasize the economic difference by blaming outsiders. So cause xenophobia, then you overly exaggerate one problem over the other, and that's not good for the world peace. Now we're about to, so we're going to enter here as you just go through some old town, narrow alleys, but you have to understand those. To enjoy that is you need to understand everything you see here is 800, 900 years old. Then you would enjoy it because you would think, wow, 800, 900 years ago, how come Benin should be so rich? They built this kind of house with, decks, they built, it's just so charming. This is extremely charming. It's a charming place to be. Very beautiful. If you look down narrow alleys, I'm going to show you a little bit more down here. Yeah, the sun's hitting my eyes now, but hopefully you can still see well about those narrow alleys. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful scene. I actually myself, when I'm not making videos, I just can have myself lost. It's so beautiful, and you can just endlessly see this beauty. This is another beautiful views of that. Yeah, it's again, if you think, if you don't know they're 800, 900 years, you think they're pretty run down in some structures, pretty run down, right? But if you know they've been here for 800, 900 years, and some are maintained pretty well. Some people bought this place, they invest, they polish it up. So it's very colorful, very beautiful. And you would appreciate it. Some stores selling jewelry art. So this is another street. Going to just walk, trying to travel a few streets, letting you see how the old town looks like. Narrow streets, beautiful narrow streets. Really beautiful. You see, the Greek and other European countries, they do very well is they put the flower pots outside their doors and make it very beautiful on those alleys. It's incredible beautiful. I'm sure the actual living condition inside those buildings may not be, the best based on the modern standards. But you see, it's a pretty rundown. But yeah, they're just constantly doing construction which is true for many places, including when I was in Cadiz, Spain, for 15 days. I was living in the old town. Cadiz old town is much more better maintained because they built about 1800 or so. So it's only 200 some years, 200, 300 years. But still, you have a lot of places just constantly have to do maintenance work. In here, the same thing. You just constantly hear those kind of noise. is another thing you can have here. Here, and you're going down there. It's a beautiful place. Very charming, very colorful. They have branches go over from one place to another, making it. But even though you can see those, they need another fresh paint on many of them. But you just have to understand they are 800, 900 years old, and then you got to enjoy it. And with the noise behind us now, it's make it a little better. Yeah, a lot of flowers. Yeah, this is actually my most favorite part here in Old Town. A royal estate, old port. Very beautiful. There's a coffee shop next to it that says fresh fish every day. It's very good. Hello. Very, very good. Let me turn around to show you. This is a beautiful place. Most beautiful place in the Old Town. Actually, like I said, fresh fish is actually difficult to find in the markets, but you can find in restaurants. At least they claim to be. And this is another. You just have to go. Of course, they warm themselves with those tree branches burning. So it's old buildings, old structures. They're living an old way. Now this is another nice walkway. We can go down here, go back to the port. This kind of give you a flavor how the Chania Old Town looks like. It's really, even you go out of the whole Old Town, there's some buildings kind of extension of the Old Town. They're very similar to it. And we will see some when we go to the Old Town Market, which is our last stop in this walking tour. I understand many people, when I talk about China, probably many people hold different political view, but I hope you be more open-minded. You just see different things, even though I have every reason to hate Chinese government, but I don't think so. I don't think I hate them at all, because I know 1.4 billion people's livelihood has improved significantly. I couldn't ask for more out of any government. And if you think China is a threat to Western world, I don't think so, because history is not on your side if you hold that kind of view. China is kind of more like many Chinese immigrants in Western world, they're considered to be good minority, and Chinese government in many ways is similar to that. They don't actually invade other countries. They're more like protecting themselves. They don't. They just not have that mentality to be an invading force. This is another view. Now we go to the port. Then we're going to try to walk over to the Old Town. Now we come back to the old port. It's just so beautiful. Probably should just stop here for a little bit of time just to get a good sense of this again before we walk away from it. I can see this every day because I come here every day, but if you're not, it's truly worth to see it and worth to take some time to slow down. Yeah, this is beautiful. The take a few seconds, take a look of this before we walk away from it. Yeah, it's very beautiful watchtower next to the temples, next to the markets, next to the beautiful stores, colorful stores. Okay, now we're going to walk to the Old Town Market, Chania Old Town Market, very famous one. It's the shape of it is very interesting. Make it more interesting is that it's a cross shape. It's basically it's like you're putting a cross on the ground. So there are 4 wings, basically a building with 4 wings, and each wing has an entrance. So you have 4 entrances. And then it's very close to here, so we can just walk over there and give it. Also, this passage is a pretty good looking too. So yeah, another thing is that they collect the garbage during the day, or not early morning or stuff like that, or at night. They just do it in the day, and they have those small trucks and just running because the road is very narrow, so they have to do that in a very small. Yeah, you see room for rent everywhere. You see in front of us there's there's another pretty nice old town type of building. In front of us is actually more like a modern things if you just walk out of this area. But within this area, you would still see very similar to the old town, narrow alleys type of building. Very close to here, so just be patient for within 5 minutes we're going to be in the old town market. Okay, we're moving forward. Yeah, people make a juice. Very nice. Now we're going to make a turn on the left. So hopefully we can see some. Yeah, we did. We will see some beautiful buildings. Next, there's a church here. Actually, one thing about it great is you don't see as many churches, maybe because Ottoman Empire is a local form, as Venice. Venice has like 100 churches everywhere, even though the city is relatively small. But it's very big based on the medieval type of. Here's another narrow streets in the kind of old town kind of styles. You don't see many churches here, but in Venice you have 100 churches. And here, some restaurants. And we can just walk over here. A little bit up, you will see stairs go up to the those are restaurants, nice. They always put very nice flowers on the table, and they're very good with that. Some fresh flowers, very beautiful. Very beautiful. There's some studio apartments in front of us. That's how. And for the Portugal, Spain, Grace, they are very big in tourism. Tourism is the big income. Yeah. In Grace, probably 20%, maybe as much as 20%. That's kind of mix between that's kind of more toward a modern town now, but yeah, modern town. But Old Town Market, this is a kind of modern town, but kind of have a little bit of Old Town charming. And if we walk this way, then we turn on the next block, we will see the Old Town Market, which is another one important Chania tourist destination. Unless if you go out of the Chania, you go to, some beaches far away, drive out. This is basically what I showed you today is basically entire Chania, Old Town and the surroundings, and some most important tourist destination like the Old Town Market we're going to enter. Now we're going to turn left, then we will go up some stairs, then we're going into the Old Town Market, which is one of the 4 entrances. Like I said, it's a cross shape. If you look on a Google map, it was a cross shape, and that's one of the entry. Actually, next to us is a supermarket, which has a lot of stuff too. I will show you that supermarket once we get up. That's one of the supermarket chain in Chania. It's the largest supermarket chain. They call it Yuk. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce. This is a supermarket chain. Very nice. And now we're going to enter it. Yeah, 2:42 now. They already cleaned that up. They're very good with chicken or stuff or meat related food. Very good. Their lamb is just incredible. I totally love their lamb. Yeah, they also have a lot of restaurants in here, and a very charming restaurant, and not expensive at all. They're locals' favorite. Now we're going to walk to the right hand, so show you all the 4 wings. This is the wing facing the main street. We will actually work, and then we kind of fall in the coastline too. We no longer walk on that. But if we walk outside, you will see the main street. The fruit, vegetables, and stuff like that. The spice. Greek is very good with spice. It's like Turkish tradition. Yeah, this is outside is the main street. They have a big Christmas tree laid out now. Now we go back to the other side, other 2 wings. It's not that big, so we already see the 2 wings, and we have another 2 wings to see in this walking tour. Again, Chania is, in my view, if you put 2 scales equally beautiful plus livable, and then Chania is probably the best city in entire Greece. Because Chania Old Town is just so charming, so beautiful, and it's not expensive at all, so it's very livable. And it's Greek honey and nuts, meat. They're very good with meat. Again, there's a rabbits hanging there. If you're vegetarian, I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to offend you, but that's what a Greece is. Greece is some fish, fried fish. This is another place selling meat. And you're going to see more meat markets than fish markets by far. Probably there's only 1 fish market actually in the entire Old Town. The rest is a meat market. That's why I'm telling you, just Greek is a meat eater. They're not too much a fish eater, even though they live on the ocean, next to the ocean. But they're not too much a fish eater. Now we're going to see one more wing, which is this. some restaurants selling spice as well. There's some, just all kinds of things, even clothing as well, because it's one of the tourist place. Spice, other stuff, and cheese. Greek cheese is very famous. They're very good with the goat cheese and all kinds of cheese. Very good. This is another one. Now we go back to where we come from, and we pretty much reached I don't know if we still have one more entry. That's pretty much the last one now. Now if we finish the last one, then we're done for this video. It's a walking tour, entire walking tour. You pretty much see the entire Chania. Hopefully this is helpful to you. If you haven't visited here, if you do considering visiting, I would highly recommend. It's just, like I said, it's the most beautiful plus most livable place. If you put the two scales together, that's the best. Yeah, that's where we enter. So we're leaving here. We'll go out here. We will see that supermarket again. So thank you very much for watching, and appreciate your time, spending time with me too. And also, hopefully you don't get offended when I talk a little bit of Chinese politics, even though it might be, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about each country. I hope I help people to reduce the division. Okay, that's it. We talked to you. Again, I appreciate you guys watching. I show you guys the next stop, maybe in Santorini, where I will be there for a month as well. And also I might briefly bringing some English videos. I make both English videos, Chinese videos. Some videos that talk about politics, some that talk about investment, some talk about the traveling. It all depends on what's in my mind. So there's no great consistency, but I like to share my thoughts with people. All right, thank you so much. I see you next time. Bye bye.